Hello, hello. What is going on, y'alls? I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to the stream. I hope y'all can hear me. Didn't really plan much for this stream. I just literally pulled up a few videos that I'm gonna watch for the first time with everyone, and then we'll react and maybe respond to some of these videos. Perfect. Thank you, Underground Apologetics. Any book suggestions to read? There's a lot. If you have Instagram, on my Orthodox highlight section on Instagram, I have some book recommendations for like beginners. But as far as like if you've been in the faith for a long time, I mean there's a ton. I mean just start with, I think you can do like basics if you need basics. There's like basics to, or an introduction to Eastern Orthodox theology by Eve Tibbs is like a good basic one if you're coming from a Protestant background. There's some things in there when I remember reading it I don't necessarily agree with, but it's a good basic intro. But honestly, if you want to get into serious apologetics, then I would recommend, start reading church fathers. The first guy I usually recommend is St. John of Damascus. And then maybe Chrysostom, some of Athanasius. We don't have that many works from Athanasius, but I guess you could read some of Athanasius. They just start reading some of the early church fathers, and then there's Callisto's Ware, Also, another, I mean, again, like a lot of these modern authors, there's certain things that we can agree and disagree on, but Callisto's where, right, usually stuff from Saint Vladi's seminary, things like that. You can see I have a bunch of books in the back, but they're like from various, they're not just all Orthodox books. There's some Hindu books there. There's the Talmud there. Uh, I have a bunch of Islamic stuff on there. So, but before you get into apologetics, I would recommend, knowing your faith inside and out, because a lot of people are just hot to get into apologetics and then they're not great when it comes to defending their faith. And I see this with some like pop apologists online that only talk about a specific topic. And then when they get pushed on something else, they're like a little lost. But anyways, hello to you. Hello to everybody in New Zealand. Uh, the time here is a bit late for me. And I've been a little bit sick, so apologies if I sound strange or anything, or if I'm like sniffling or something. Yeah, just go to my Instagram and check. I have like a recommendation of some introductory stuff like on theosis, basics of apologetics, uh, get a Septuagint Bible. You could get the Orthodox Study Bible, but I don't really recommend it. The only reason I would get it would be because it has all the 76 books, the ones that the Protestant canons exclude. Kashmir, India, ex-Muslim. How you doing, Fatima? Hello to you. Hello to everybody from India as well. Oh, nice. So you're probably, seems like a lot of people are off. If you are an Orthodox Christian, at least here in the States, usually we have evening vespers on Saturdays, but um this is sort of like a discuss topic in the community, usually in the like the wider community, not really so much in Orthodoxy. No, you can grow your hair out, nobody cares. I don't actually know what Septuagint Bible I have. It's I don't remember the translation. It's a Septuagint translation. And I have the Orthodox Study Bible as well. I don't remember actually which one it is. But you can just get any Septuagint translation. I mean, they're all usually going to be pretty good. Just go on like Amazon or something and type in Septuagint Bible. Okay, anyways. Hello to you all. Hopefully my quality has gotten better. We finally managed to get like decent internet here where I reside, which is the reservation. I reside on Native American land, on tribal land as they call it here, and finally got some, decent internet here, so hopefully the quality's better. And it doesn't, get stuck every like 15 seconds like it used to be with my previous internet. Alrighty, friends. So I guess let's get into watching some stuff that I literally just pulled up. I haven't seen any of this stuff. Actually, this first clip, I watched a good portion of this Jubilee. Jubilee does the like 100 liberals versus one Democrat, 100 Christian or 20 Christians, whatever I don't remember the numbers they do, versus, this many versus one atheist or whatever. So I discovered this guy's channel. His name is Lizar Perez or something like that. I think that's his name. And I want to watch this short interaction that he had with a guy named Sam Setter. Sam Setter. I think that's his name. I guess this guy Sam has a bit of a following. I don't even know who Sam Setter is, to be honest with you. I guess he's like, I think he's a leftist based on the conversation he had. And he's some sort of atheist, I guess. But anyways, let's go ahead and check out this video. And then if you guys have some questions and stuff, I'll go through the comments, but let me just share. Okay. Let me just move over here a little bit so we can see that there. All right. So this is that one individual. Again, I think what's his name? Elazar Perez, I think is his name. Check out his channel. It's right there. Official Eliezer. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Perez. He has some fun content. So check it out. But let's watch this clip and then react to it.
Problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society
should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than...
Okay, so you're okay with a 45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well?
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right, there's duties and obligations that we have, so religion provides those duties. Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine on me, and I don't want that.
You just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
If you enjoyed that, then make sure to follow for...
So if you guys paid attention to that clip, I hope you guys noticed him pre-supping this Sam Setter guy. And it sounds like he wasn't trying to address this at all. But the funny thing is, actually, I went through the comments and I left a comment there. But I had no idea this Sam Setter guy even had fans. But there's a lot of people just coping in there. And like, I'm telling you, like, this is like pop atheism. Just like fanboys, like, you know, brain dead following. Like, look at these comments. Nah, you were just talking fast and trying to sound smart. LOL. All your points were I mean, the absolute, like, retardation of these comments. And there's a bunch of them. I guess maybe this Sam Setter guy sent these people here. I don't know if he has a YouTube channel or not. Like, I mean, he simply just, like, pulled off a simple pre-sup. Like, give me a justification because it's going to get to eventually, like, it's my preference. I want things this way. Right? There's no objective morality. Sam Setter is a moral relativist based on, you know, even this short clip. I mean, these comments are hilarious. Like, atheism is this is actually one of the reasons why I rarely even address atheism, because it's just beyond retarded, especially like the current, right, in the debate sphere. Atheism is just retarded. I don't know how guys like Jim Bob deal with these atheists, because it's like it's the same conversation. If you engage in presuppositional apologetics, you're having the same conversation with them. Or Andrew Wilson engages with them quite a bit, right? It all comes down to give me a justification. You're a moral. It's so easy to destroy moral relativism. And it always comes down to, that's my preference. I disagree with you. That's my preference. Your religion enforces certain doctrines on me and it oppresses me and I don't want to follow that. Why? Give me a justification. That's all he asked for, a justification. And like the people in these comments are just absolutely freaking retarded. you were just talking fast. All your points were, but bro, you like everything went over your head. Like a simple precept just goes over people's head. It makes me feel good. It's still a much better argument than it's what God wants. Like just the presuppositional apologetics, the request for justification, just going over these people's heads. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. Like, look at these comments. It's just cope. It's just ultimate cope. Sam Setter was the better debater. Like, these comments are pathetic. Like, nobody is trying to justify their worldview in the comments. Anyone thinking this beady-eyed creep beats Sam at anything, but just cope. All these comments are cope. By bringing up random, irrelevant point. Like, they don't understand basic presuppositional apologetics. This is hilarious. You did not destroy him, my man. You just wouldn't STFU. I mean, like, bro, like, just the current atheism cannot be this low tier, dude. Just absolute retardation. And this is the left. That's why. The left is retarded. Now, look, I criticize the right a lot. I don't really fall into these political spectrums, but obviously, you know, as a Christian, a traditionalist, most of my values are going to align with the right, but I criticize the right because the right these days is very retarded as well. But like the left is just next level retardation, dude. And by the way, left and right is going to differ depending what country you're in. Like New Zealand is going to be different. Australia is going to be different, right? Europe is totally different. UK is like the UK right is like the right in the UK is more like our like middle left here, I would say. Like, but anyways, I don't want to get in too much politics here. I just want to stick right to the religious and the apologetics conversation here. I mean, just absolutely retarded. Like atheists, especially atheists on the left. I don't know if you guys can see these comments. I mean, you can go over there and read them. It's hilarious. Yeah, look at this. So many Semsetter soy boys coping in the comments. Exactly. I mean, it's just absolute cope. How did Sam get destroyed? Sam's stance was simple. Separation of church and state. The government shouldn't establish rule according to any religion based on constitution. That's how the country was founded. But that's not the whole conversation he's asking. He's asking for justification for his beliefs that he wants to enforce, right? Because he wants to enforce secularism, essentially, if you go watch the entire conversation. Right. And he's just asking, like, what is your justification for all these things? Like, you prefer, like, right, like, you think in your secular society, like, grape is wrong. Can you justify why grape is wrong? Can you justify why being a homosexual is okay in your society? And you see, he almost got him there, and Sam Setter kind of weaseled his way out of it a little bit. He said, "So are, you know, PDF files born this way?" And he says they very well might be, right? Because he's that's not like the only part of this clip where he was like somewhat consistent with my preference. Like, it just comes down to my preference, bro. And that's what this guy was like. It sounds like this guy watches, you know, some Andrew Wilson, maybe some Jim Bob, or just is familiar with, you know, presuppositional apologetics. I mean, because this is a never-ending argument with atheists. Badly flawed gish, like just retarded. Anyways, go check this guy out. He was recently on what's that dude's? Anyways, it was like a big podcast channel that he was on recently on. So he's kind of popping off. This Eliezer Perez, and he does a lot of stuff like in public. So go check this guy out. But anyways, let's move on to the next video I have here in line. We're going to react to a David Wood video. It was something that happened recently. Between where Sneeko, I guess, went to visit a certain sheikh in the Muslim community, Sheikh Al-Asim Hakim, I think is Sheikh Hasim Al-Hakim, I think that's his name. Yeah, Sheikh Hasim Al-Hakim. And essentially Sneeko just sort of had some questions about, a certain hadith that he was questioning, and he wanted to get some clarification. And if you guys are familiar with this sheikh, he's kind of a guy that doesn't really, I guess, he doesn't really beat around the bush, I guess, to put it in simpler terms. And if you watch his stuff, I appreciate him for just sort of just being honest. And I believe he's a Salafi. I haven't engaged in like Muslim content in a while. I believe he's a Salafi, so he's a traditionalist. He lives in Saudi Arabia, I believe. He attended, an Islamic school there, but I believe he's of Indonesian descent. But right, he's honest about certain things that Islam wants to do, right? Establish Sharia, and when it unaliving apostates, he's honest about all these things. And listen to how he answers. I haven't seen this David Wood reaction, but I've seen the clip to how he responds to Sneeko, and he just tells him, "You're a weak Muslim then if you're doubting a Sahih or an authentic hadith. If you're doubting a Sahih hadith, you're a weak Muslim, bro. Like, just stop." that's his recommendation. Just stop doubting it, dude. But anyways, let's see what David Wood has to say, because I haven't seen this at all.
Sneeko is the Jar Jar Binks of the Dawa-verse. They thought that inserting him into the story would breathe some new life into the franchise, but he just ended up annoying us.
He's embarrassing.
So why is Sneeko the poster boy for Dawa? It's pretty simple, really. For 13 centuries, Islam spread by force. In the early 20th century, the Ottoman Empire fought in World War I and lost. After that, the caliphate fell apart. It was clear that Islam could no longer compete with far more powerful Western nations, so Muslims started focusing on Dawah to spread Islam. But they realized that most people knew next to nothing about Islam, so they lied about Islam a lot. They made up all kinds of nonsense about the perfect preservation of the Quran and scientific miracles, and this worked well because there was an atmosphere of ignorance about Islam. People didn't know anything about the Quran, so the Dawagandists could say absolutely anything. They kept going until the internet and the availability of Muslim sources made it easier to refute the lies that were being told. The arguments don't work on anyone who's familiar with the topic, or as we like to put it, the arguments don't work on anyone who's familiar with the Dawa script. This means that Dawagandists who want to continue using the arguments need to find people who are still in a state of total ignorance. And that's why the focus in recent years has shifted to getting popular influencers like Andrew Tate and Sneeko and now Lily J to spread Islam.
I don't believe Lily J is a Muslim. She's just kind of like a troll and just a grifter, and her music career failed, so she's just trying to ride the Islamic wave. But also, like, did Andrew Tate apostatize from Islam? Like, do you guys know? I don't keep up with any of these guys, but I thought I heard that Andrew Tate now is calling himself a Romanian Orthodox Christian. I'm not sure. Let me know if you guys know. He might still be like a Muslim. I have no idea. I know his brother says he's an Orthodox Christian, so I'm not conflating the two Tate brothers. I'm familiar with who they are.
Muslim leaders know that people like Andrew Tate and Sneeko and Lily J have some of the most ignorant and gullible followers on the planet. And Muslim leaders know they can get access to these ignorant and gullible followers through the influencers. The goal is to win the race that's going on. They need to dupe enough people into converting to keep Islam from falling apart, just long enough for Islam to take over some modern countries and impose blasphemy laws that will silence critics. Once the critics have been silenced, no one can object to the lies and
Okay, so it might have been a recent clip then that says he now identifies as an Orthodox Christian. Okay, interesting.
And Islam wins. So that's why they're using Sneeko. They want access to his followers, and they want to steer his followers towards the sheikhs who are plotting to subjugate the world. A perfect example here is Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, who advises Muslims to prepare for a time when they'll be able to go door to door, forcing people to either convert to Islam, pay protection money, or be executed.
Jihad, linguistically, is to struggle. And technically, it is to fight for the cause of Allah. And what is the reason behind such jihad? Number one, to call them to Islam. It is for da'wah. The jihad is only for da'wah. That is why when Muslims go and conquer the adjacent country, what do? We kill them all? No. The Prophet says, the first thing you do is call them to Islam. If they accept it, leave them. Khalas, they're Muslims, we go. If they refuse, then tell them Allah obliged upon you to pay taxation, jizya. If they refuse, then we have to fight. And if we fight you, then we capture you, you become our slaves, and we take your land, and you take where, because you refuse, I give you two good options.
Sneeko met with Sheikh Asim.
Yeah, that's a famous clip that went viral a bit ago, to where he says, we give you two good options. You pay the jizya, you accept Islam, or whoosh, off with your head. So, but anyways,
and he quickly learned that he's not allowed to question anything Muhammad said. People of Yemen being the best of people.
First of all, we as Muslims have to have submission, certainty, no questions asked, no strings attached.
Certainty. Certainty. What the hell is certainty?
This is Quran, I believe it.
I mean, with all due respect, it's probably like his fifth language. I believe he speaks fluent Arabic. I mean, you have to if you're a scholar. And I believe he's considered a scholar. He finished the schooling in Saudi Arabia, I believe. So I'm not like making fun of him. It's just funny.
Fully embrace it? Yes. No questions asked.
If Muhammad said it, no questions asked, no strings attached.
There you go, Muslims. By the way, it's been a while since I've had a debate with a Muslim. But it's common for Muslims to try to weasel their way out of Sahih Hadiths. That's why I appreciate the Muslims that are honest and just say, yeah, Muhammad said it. And he's actually right here, right? The Sheikh Hasim is right here. Like, it's Sahih. Like, who are you to question it? Like, like if scholars are having this discussion and maybe questioning, I mean, it's a big deal even if scholars question it. Other scholars are like, what are you doing, bro? But you have like layman Muslims, like with no shame, and usually they're in the West because they're safe, come up and like essentially act like Protestants and try to like reinterpret, hadiths, the Quran, and try to question Sahih Hadith. Like when you bring up a hadith and they're like Muslims like think like us that engage in like Islamic apologetics, like they think like we're like stupid, like we just like we did like 30 minutes of research online about Islam. Like they come up, they're like, do you even know how hadiths work? Do you even know how hadith works? There's Sahih, there's Daif, there's Hassan. Like, bro, like there's a reason why we're engaging in apologetics with Muslims or polemics against Islam. Like you don't need to give us these damn basics. Like we know more than you. Like guys, like God Logic, Christian Prince, and myself. Like trust me, like I know more than you, dude. Like they're running through like these like what they're like. That's why it's so easy to corner Muslims on like they're like, what's the grading of that hadith? And you're like, And I like to act stupid. I'm like, grading? What do you mean grading? And they're like, oh, they like think they got you because their freaking like caveman brain kicks in. And they're like, read it like at the bottom, like if you're on the sunnah.com, right? And I'm like, it's daif. And they're like, yeah, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. So I reject that hadith. And I'm like, it's an authentic hadith. It's sahih. And then they're like, well, like hadith come like 200, like they start automatically throwing like al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. They start throwing like these hadiths under the bus. They love to throw al-Bukhari under the bus. Like al-Bukhari is probably like turning over in his grave. They love to throw him under. They're like, well, actually how hadith work, like they come like 200 years later. I don't know. We don't know if it's like true or not. Yeah, the chain is like, dude, you're a layman Muslim. Like, shut up. Don't stop inventing your own Islam. Submit to the scholars. They graded it authentic. It's authentic. Like, shut up and deal with it.
You submit.
And that's why I appreciate the sheikh. I mean, the sheikh is like, he's just saying like, dude, like, it's authentic, dude. What's your issue with it? Like, he's not like going, well, like just start throwing the, al-Bukhari, all the scholars under the butt. Just, well, hadith comes like 200 years later, and the Quran is number one. As long as we follow the, some run around like BS answer. He's just like, you're a weak Muslim then. That's what Islam is. Submission. Submit to whatever, if some ridiculous hadith you read, it's authentic, accept it.
And
even if it's like Aisha cleaning Muhammad's semen-stained clothes or whatever.
And Sheikh Asim is correct, according to the Quran. Surah 4, verse 65.
I've seen Muslims throw away Bukhari to try and argue that Aisha is 19. Yeah, I've seen this as well. Usually, I've seen this from Qur'ani-only Muslims, and I've also seen this from Shia. But Shia obviously reject, all the Sunni hadiths. They have their own, but like the Shia hadiths are silly as well. Like Al-Kafi, like if you read some of the hadith in Al-Kafi, they're just retarded. Like there's one hadith in Al-Kafi where it talks about like you wearing yellow shoes. I brought this up to a Shia before, and I usually have much better conversations with Shia, and I'm usually pretty friendly with Shia Muslims. But there's this one hadith in Al-Kafi, like I think some of you guys probably know it. It's like if you wear yellow shoes, it enlarges your penis or something. Like it's like they have their own, like their hadith are stupid, bro. They like to like, oh, the Sunnis are brain dead. They think Muhammad married a child, and al-Bukhari, all the and they hate Aisha, by the way. Aisha is this and that. But like, dude, you guys have your imams, like some of your imams are just retarded, and some of your hadiths are like just next level stupid. So deal with your sources. But I appreciate that they're always fighting with the Sunnis and with their silly hadiths. It's fun to watch from the side.
But know by your Lord, they can have no faith until they make.
Yeah, exactly. They have like freaking elephant fly. Yeah. I mean, Sunni hadiths, right, have like, the story with Burak, the freaking donkey mule mixture, whatever that animal, like flew Muhammad across the sky to like Jerusalem. Like just so. I'm not trying to like, eliminate the aspect of like miracles, right? Because we have miracles and essentially all religious traditions, right? When we read through the scriptures, we have, miraculous things occurring, but it's like, we don't have any flying. We have a talking mule. So I'm not like trying to, eliminate the aspect of miracles, but it's just I'm coming with the presupposition that Islam is false, and then they have these stories of like Shias have like flying elephants, and then the Sunni have Muhammad flying across the sky on Burak, the flying mule donkey, to like Jerusalem.
Make you O Muhammad, blah, 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 judge in all disputes between them and find in themselves no resistance against your
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're really throwing Muhammad under the bus here because essentially they're like presupposing in this scenario that one, that morality is relative, I guess, and that they think what Muhammad did was wrong. So I don't know why layman Muslims always go to this, like, well, back in the day, like, that's not an argument, dude. That's why I think layman Muslims, like, just giving you honest advice, just shut up. Like, let the let the Dawa guys have these conversations. Like, just shut up with these like low tier stupid, like, you're throwing Islam under the bus. Like, you're making Islam look even stupider, dude, with these like non-arguments.
decisions and accept them with full submission. Islam means submission, but submission to Allah requires full submission to all of Muhammad's decisions. If you have
Anyways, full submission to all of Muhammad's decisions. You have to fully submit to the Prophet and his apostles, essentially. So that's what Islam, and also like Muslims today have to submit to their authority within Islam, right? They have to submit, right, to the scholars, to the sheikhs, to the imams. Like Islam isn't Protestantism. Like, yeah, they have like certain sects that have sort of turned, right, like Qurani only reminds me of like sola scriptura. They're essentially like, kind of like, if I was to compare and contrast, they're like the Protestants within the the Christian sphere, to where they reject all the hadiths essentially, and they just stick to the Quran, which is even more problematic for him. Like, there's this one guy, Muhammad. His name is Muhammad. I don't remember his channel name. He's a fairly famous Qurani Muslim in the apologetics world, and he does debates. My goodness, he is awful. Like, he is so bad. Like, he's so bad. Like, it becomes even more problematic for you because if you're Qurani only, like, how do you justify not marrying a child, for example? Because at least if you hold to the hadith, you can go and point to the Aisha marriage, like, right, at least Aisha was 9 when the marriage was consummated. At least there's like a minimum set, right? But if you're Qurani only, you don't even have that. Like, essentially, you have to accept it. You have to accept that you can marry a child at any stage. At least the ones that hold to the hadith can use the Aisha example, even though it's not a great argument either. At least they can use that. Like, you can't as Qurani only. Right? You go to the Ida verse, to where it talks about, right, the waiting period. Like, essentially, there's no limit, dude. There's no. Yeah, Muhammad Hijab actually had a conversation with a Qurani Muslim, and he brought this up. He says, well, as a Qurani only, like, you're an even worse position because there is no age limit. Like, at least I can give an argument that the Prophet married Aisha or consummated the marriage when she was 9 and married her when she was 6. Like, you don't have any of that in the Quran. So, anyways, let's go to the next video. So essentially, like, the point is, like, Islam is brain dead. There's a reason why I haven't addressed Islam in a while. I might, after Lent, I think I'll probably start hosting some lives and having conversations with Muslims again. But I've sort of set Islam aside for a bit, because I was just bored of it, dude. Like, my brain was hurting having these open debates with Muslims, with these layman Muslims. Like, it was just a lot of like teenagers coming on and just making themselves look stupid and throwing their religion under the bus. I was Jim Bob. How you doing? Good to see you. Okay, let's check out this other guy. I want to put some of these smaller channels on the map a little bit. Maybe some of you guys can go over there and subscribe to them. There's this channel right here called Crusade with Care. He's fairly new. I think he just recently started. I've seen some of his content, but he has a video here where he responds to NeedGod.net's 10 reasons to convert to not convert to Eastern Orthodoxy. And I sort of did a response to NeedGod.net. But again, his arguments were very low tier. I just sort of gave him my argument, right? My refutation of Protestantism, right? I just, pulled a priest up essentially. You have to give me justification, a rational, coherent justification for the canonicity and interpretation of your biblical canon. So, and I still haven't received a response from anyone. And I challenge all Protestants on this. So, Protestants, where are you at?
Hello, everyone. At the request of comments on my last response video, today I will be responding to NeedGod.net's video, 10 Reasons Not to Convert to Eastern Orthodoxy. Let's begin.
Praying to saints and icon veneration. The Orthodox Church says it's a fine practice to pray to the saints, create pictures of them, which they call icons, place them in their churches and homes, and then bow down to them, kiss them, and pray to them. To do that would be a violation of the second of the 10 Commandments, which says, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them." What is forbidden is not the...
Like, this is so low tier. By the way, I have a response video to this. It's in another language, but there are subtitles. But I just made a response in another language because I was getting a lot of Russian and Ukrainian Protestants coming in and like attacking me on all these low tier freaking arguments, and iconography was one of them. So I made a response for the Ukrainians and the Russians. But I'm curious to what Crusaders' response here is going to be. But this is so low tier. It's so stupid.
Images per se.
Essentially, just comes down to my exegesis of this verse is just it's just rejection of all images, which is not what it's saying at all. Because we have in the temple, we have imagery all over the temple. We have Joshua bowing down before the Ark of the Covenant, prostrating before it. Why? Because they believed that the Ark of the Covenant held God. They venerated it. He bows and prostrates before it, for essentially an entire night.
But the bowing down to or serving of these images.
You are right that the images themselves are not forbidden. That's a fact often neglected by Protestant apologists, so I appreciate your recognition of this. Because the commandment is not against depicting heavenly images, like many assume. It describes any and all images, and commands us against worshiping them. What's important here is intention. Do we believe that an icon of Christ is Christ himself? No. It's simply a plank of wood, which has been set apart for this holy purpose. Just like when I kiss a photograph of a loved one. I understand the photograph itself is not my mother or father or a dear friend, but it serves as a reminder of them, serving as a tangible representation of them. And because of my love for them, I treat it with affection. The same as one might do with a Bible or a cross. They treat it with care and reverence, understood to be God or gods. So let's move on to prayers to the saints. We must understand.
So he sort of gave I don't think he gave the best response. I would have gone straight to the scriptures. It's evident in the Old Testament where this commandment is given, by the way, against graven images, that's not what it's talking about. That it's talking about the imagery of the pagans, the idol worship that the pagans were engaging in. Because there's imagery all over the temple, right? The seraphim, these are heaven. This is heavenly imagery. So are they committing adultery? Are they breaking the commandment? Like, it's stupid. And I just brought up the example, right, of Joshua, and also Solomon, right, comes out of the temple, and with all of the people, they bow before the altar. What is the altar? A representation of something, right? Imagery. I mean, like, it's just, it's so silly, dude. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't respond to it. One, because I already have a bunch of responses to it. When I posted my video, Why I'm Not a Protestant, and essentially I gave my debunking of, sola scriptura, the interpretation, I precept them essentially. And Protestants are just like, oh, so you just didn't. I literally told you that I've responded to everything he said already on my channel. All his arguments, I have responses to them. Yo, but you didn't respond to him specifically. That specific video, you didn't respond to that. Like, Protestants are so. I'm trying to stop saying the word retarded, but it's just like, it's such a beautiful word. It's a perfect, and I'm not saying all Protestants are this way, but like, just some of these guys that come in my comments or in my, on Instagram or in my DMs is just like I just roll my eyes. I don't remember the last time I actually had a conversation with an Protestant that is like well versed or is able to engage and be honest, because they just don't exist, right? If a Protestant was like honest and he was like engaging with, right, my critiques, my responses, the apology, like, he wouldn't hold these views. Like, I know Protestants, like, personally know Protestants that I've had these conversations for like, over a long period of time with, and and these are Protestants that, like, I'm friends with, like I know these guys, I grew up with some of these guys, we hang out, and they don't hold these positions, right? Like, when other like Protestants show up from their church, or we go out and they invite them, and somebody brings up iconography, like, I'm sitting there quiet, I'm not saying anything. Like, they're defending iconography for me because they're honest. They're like, you iconography, like, that's your objection to orthodoxy? So low tier. Like, even Gavin Ortland, who isn't always honest, like, doesn't believe that iconography is idolatry. Even guys like Gavin Ortland, like, he will not argue that iconography is idolatry. He sort of gives this weird critique of it to where he's like, well, you believe it's a window to the divine, and his critique is kind of weird, but essentially, like, he doesn't think we're engaging in iconography. His argument really is he's sort of butthurt that the Seventh Ecumenical Council, anathemizes everybody that doesn't venerate icons. Like, you must venerate icons as an Orthodox Christian. And one, that doesn't apply to you, Gavin Ortland. You're not even an Orthodox Christian. But I guess that's offensive to him because he wants it to be optional. His argument is essentially like, it just doesn't feel right to me. You're like, yeah, no shiz. You grew up Protestant, dude. Like, it's gonna feel weird to you probably. Like, you've never venerated an icon in your life, except you have. Like, you've kissed your wife, your grandparents, probably your kids. They're image bearers. These are images, right? Image bearers of God.
Understand that how we pray to the saints is not the same as how we pray to
Same
God.
with the saint argument. Like, look, guys, I've addressed all these things. There's a reason why I didn't specifically respond to it. And even the video I pointed you guys to from that Avengers podcast. Sorry, not the Avengers podcast. No, I did. From the Avengers podcast, I pointed, I think it was in the Avengers. No. It was in my Protestant response video to David Erhan's video, where he's sort of gives a direct response to needgod.net's video. Like, he doesn't even take the approach of like going point by point and refuting it, because even like David Erhan's tired of it too, dude. Like, we're all tired of it. He just gives you reasons why the arguments that he gives, he sort of flips it on them and says like, no, these are actually all reasons why you should be Orthodox.
To pray simply means to ask, like pray tell in Old English. And prayers to God are direct, whereas prayers to the saints are intercessory in nature. We are asking that these saints.
Yeah. I mean, if you believe that the church is the living and the dead, not just the living, like what is your issue with intercession? It just doesn't, like, in George's podcast, George Janko's podcast, him and Roos, like, their take is like, it just never felt right to me. That's not an argument, dummy. Non-denom. So essentially you were your own singular denomination.
Pray on our behalf, like you might ask your friend or congregation to pray for you, which is something Scripture directly calls for us to do in the book of James and 1 Timothy. Therefore, I exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men. Confess your trespasses to one another, and pray for one another, that you may be healed. So why would we ask Mary or the saints to pray on our behalf?
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff, like, that he addresses, I addressed, like, multiple times on my channel. And I thoroughly addressed it in the response to the Avengers podcast that Georgienko had, that silly podcast. Like, penal substitutionary atonement, PSA, is the most hilarious one to me. But listen to what he has to say.
Orthodox people reject the idea that Jesus took the punishment for our sins. That's right, you didn't mishear me. The Orthodox do believe that Jesus died on the cross, but they don't believe that in doing so, Jesus took the punishment from the Father for our sins. Instead,
and this is why, in my response video to this guy, this is why I called him a heretic in, like, a harsh manner. Like, this is as heretical as it gets. Holding to PSA is as heretical as it gets. The Father pouring out his wrath on the Son. So one, you're either separating the Trinity, so you're just an anti-Trinitarian, or if you believe the Father pours it out on the human Jesus, you're just an historian. I mean, either way, like, you can go down each rabbit hole, and essentially you can pull out a bunch of heresies out of PSA. But at the end, you're just an anti-Trinitarian. Holding to PSA is anti-Trinitarian. The Father murders his Son? Huh? Like, this is, by the way, like, one of the biggest, like, killer arguments when I have conversation with Protestants, that rarely do I see Protestants defend themselves when I bring this up. As I said, I have Protestant friends, like, close friends in my life. And this is actually, believe it or not, this is their biggest issue with Protestantism. Right? They have these things that they still can't reconcile with Orthodoxy, and they still go to their Protestant churches. A lot of times it's like their wife, their kids are holding them back. They can't just leave, right? If they're convinced, even. But they just, like, flat out told me, yeah, but, like, I don't hold to PSA. I can't. Like, that is, like, a killer argument to Protestants. They're like, I don't know how I could, like, when I explain it to them, right? We go through the penal substitutionary atonement. They're like, yeah, dude, honestly, I don't know how you can hold to PSA. It's anti-Trinitarian.
they talk about Christ's sacrifice simply being a victory over death and corruption.
By the way, straw man by this, scrawny necked idiot. That's not, we don't, in Orthodoxy, we don't hold to one singular atonement theory. It's not just the Christus Victor model. Yeah, that's sort of the central theme in Orthodoxy, but that's not what Orthodoxy is. We don't have, again, Orthodox apologetics is apophatic. Like, we don't make, in a lot of our theology, we don't make these, like, objective, like, not always, but I'm saying, like, most of the time, there's certain things, like, we don't, like, objectively, like, this is what it is and that's it. Like, this is what the atonement is and there's no other way. No, Like we say, like, this is what it's not. This is what it's not. This is, well, the scriptures, the fathers, the patristics tell us what it is right here. But we don't make these, like, affirmations like, just Christus Victor model. That's it. That's the Orthodox. That's not, Orthodoxy doesn't hold to like a specific atonement theory. So like this idiot did like 30 minutes of research.
But not that he bore the wrath of God.
There you go. Just an absolute blasphemous heretic. Blasphemous heretic. He bore the second, like, just think about this. Like, if there's Protestants watching this, like, think about this logically. The second person of the Trinity bore the wrath of the first person of the Trinity. Muslims, where are you at? LPT argument, hello. Logical problem of the Trinity, bam. That's why Muslims love to have this conversation with usually Western Christians, Protestants. Because the LPT is actually, I don't think it's still not that effective against their sort of egalitarian model, but like a very effective here if you hold to this absolute stupidity. And here's the thing. I've seen, by the way, I've tried to get on this guy's lives. I haven't been able to get on. Maybe he's seen my stuff and he sees me in the background in his queue and he's just like, no. But he's like, Sig has gotten on his, and he just like kicked him off. Like this guy didn't want to deal with it and listen. And he's going to do the same with me. But I'll try to get on this guy's lives and challenge him at some points. But I mean, just absolute like heresy.
God. This is hugely problematic, I would say, because it's really ripping out the core of the message of the gospel.
And this is what his like apologetics is saying. Like, it's just a basic like Reformed Baptist like apologetics, like the core message of the gospel. Like, it's just like Christianity and salvation. Like the only thing this like Protestantism is so egotistical. The only thing they care about is soteriology. The only thing they care about is like, no, just tell me how to be saved, dude. Just tell me how I can be saved. That's all I care about. Like, as opposed to, hey, maybe we should start with like triadology, like what is the Trinity? Maybe we should start with, and then like proceed to like Christology, like who is Christ? And then, sort of our salvation model becomes more visible as we try to, actually learn about God, like actual theology, right? Like actual study of God, as opposed to like all their apologetic scholastic starts with soteriology. Like, just start with, give me the formula for salvation, and then everything else follows. And that's why they have this heretical model of atonement. Because they don't start with triadology and then Christology, and then somewhere along the lines we'll discover, soteriology. No, they start with soteriology first. Like, his version of Protestantism, there's many, it's like the easiest to refute. It's next level, like brain dead stupidity. If you're actually an individual that wants to think about these things, like just think through this model, dude.
Because God's justice needs to be satisfied. Either we take the penalty for our own sins in hell, or Jesus can take the penalty.
It's just transactional. It's just, right, it's just a substitute, it's just a transaction. That's what it is. God needed this transaction. Like, it's so demeaning, dude. And this is why it's so like it's just heretical. And then I had people in I don't know if they were Protestant, hopefully they weren't Orthodox Christian, like, well, way to start the video. So much for loving thy neighbor. You just started with calling him a blasphemous heretic. Like, this is why, dude. Watch the video. This is why. Like, this is just flat out heresy. And he has, like, 100,000 like little teenage subscribers. By the way, I when I tried to get on his lives, like, the only people he brings up are teenagers, dude. He's got a conversation with like 16, 15-year-olds.
For us on the cross. There is no option of God just not punishing if he is to remain.
Like, God had to do it. God had to, like, just think. Like, I'm just going to make one comment on this, and I'm just going to move on from this video, because when I watch his original video, it hurt my brain. God had, like, just think about this. If there's Protestants watching this, think about this. Think about this atonement theory that he holds to. God, the Father, killed God, Jesus. That's PSA for you right there, dude. That's PSA. The Father, like, I feel stupid even saying it. The Father unalives Jesus to redeem us. Huh? Huh?
Just. Their reason for rejecting this doctrine is that they think it somehow would.
Well, the gospel isn't one thing. It's a multitude of things. But essentially, the gospel is a calling to follow Christ and submit to Christ, his church, and go on this process of theosis, participating in the life of the church. The gospel is, it's not this cheap gospel that, by the way, I think I know who you are, Christian. I believe you follow me on Instagram. Your version of the gospel is a cheap gospel. Hey, come here. You're on the streets preaching. Hey, come here. Accept Jesus in your heart. You're a Christian. This is why Orthodoxy isn't so widespread. Because it isn't this cheap evangelical gospel. It's full encompassing the teachings, submission to Christ, submission to his church that Christ establishes, right? Theosis. Go watch my videos on theosis. By the way, like, Christian, I know you're coming in here, like, just go watch some of my stuff, dude. I don't have time to get into theosis. I talk about Orthodox salvation. It's like the featured video on my channel, theosis. That's what salvation is, theosis. Go check it out.
Would break the Trinity if the Father poured out his.
Anyways, I have no interest in watching this anymore, dude. Let's check out the next video I have here. And by the way, I'll get into hopefully some spiritual stuff after this, because I do want to react to I was going to show you guys Father Trifon's channel, who is an abbot here in the state that I reside in. He has some great stuff, guys. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Father Trifon, so go check that out. Yeah, thank you, Christian. By the way, Christian, you're the guy from Australia, right? You're the Aussie guy. By the way, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just, yeah, just watch some of the videos, Christian. Thank you. All right, let's watch the next video here. Another great channel here, by the way, guys. Barrel Aged Faith. This guy's great. He's not as mean as me. He sort of has I don't know. He has a very balanced approach to apologetics. not as mean. I just want to. He's not as aggressive as like me or maybe some of the other brothers that some of the other apologists you guys are familiar with, right? Maybe Jay Dyer. By the way, Jay Dyer, I think, has me blocked on YouTube. I don't know what that's about. But anyways, if you're not blocked by Jay Dyer, then, and this is not really a shot at Jay Dyer, but like, you're doing something wrong. It might have been over geopolitics because I like greatly disagree with Jay Dyer in geopolitics.
And welcome to Barrel Aged Faith plus Transfigured Live.
Transfigured Life, another great channel, guys. Go check them out. I think they do a great job there. With Father, what's the priest's name? He's a Greek Orthodox priest. I don't remember his name, guys. I don't tune into them that often, but I am subscribed to them, so go check them out.
Most respected Catholic apologists. So think about some of the Catholic apologists that you see or listen to online. Who do you really appreciate?
By the way, guys, I haven't seen any of these videos. This is spontaneous
out there.
Wow. Catholic apologist, you said.
He's throwing a curveball.
I did.
See, I don't know a lot of their, I may get their names wrong. There's a guy named Marshall.
Oh, Dr. Taylor Marshall?
Yeah, I've listened to some of his stuff. I'm not saying he's the best, but I've listened to some of his stuff and I've liked it. I don't think I'm going to put Michael Lofton in that category, but
nice.
Speaking of who I'm not blocked on, who I'm not blocked by.
Other people
liked it. I don't think I'm going to put Michael Lofton.
I'm not blocked by Michael Lofton, actually. Yeah, I'm blocked by a lot of people, including I don't know why I'm blocked by so many Catholics. Actually, I kind of do know why. Sometimes I'll hop into their lives and start conversations that they don't want to see. But Michael Lofton, Michael Lofton hasn't blocked me. I recently had a back and forth with Michael Lofton in a live, and he said, "Yeah, you're not blocked. I'm a real man. I don't block people." That's what Michael Lofton told us. I don't know about being a real man, Michael. You looking a little soy there, a little chunky, a little bit of a weak beard. I don't know about that, bro.
Often in that category, but
nice, Father. Nice.
I know. I'm just saying, Michael's a good guy, but I wouldn't quite put his stuff in that. And then you got people that are what I would call sort of the like Eric Ibarra and a few others that are very good at what they do. What's the guy who?
By the way, I don't know most of the. I'm not really too familiar with a lot of these apologists. Like some of the other guys I brought up. Eric Ibarra, I think, is pretty good. I'm very familiar with some of the bigger names.
He's got the English accent. Pints with Aquinas, but he's
Matt
he's
not an apologist. He's quite ignorant. This guy, Pints with Aquinas. I check him out sometimes. I watch him.
With people on, and so forth. It's a decent show, and I have to admit I learned something on a couple of those. I don't know that I have a favorite. I don't know that I can say I have a favorite.
I'm curious.
Which guy, Kyle?
Yeah. Swanson.
I'm curious what Trent. What's Trent Horn? I guess Trent Horn is decent, but I think when it comes to I think Eric Ibarra, at least somebody that's like active in apologetic sphere and like does formal debates. I think Eric Ibarra is probably their best apologist, if I'm being honest. That's just my opinion. But I'm just curious to see the Protestant ones because that's sort of the sphere I like to dwell in. Sam Shamoon, I guess. Sam Shamoon is cool. Sam Shamoon also has me blocked, by the way.
In there someplace too.
Sam Shamoon, he is like a very skilled man. I think he has a photo.
I think they're getting to the
probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago.
I believe this guy's a Lutheran.
Started running into his stuff, and I respected him that he.
I disagree with you on Christian Wagner. I think he's a retard. Trent Horn, D1. I think I've seen D1 is that Asian guy. Is D1 the Asian guy that like does conversations in public? Is that him? Yeah, but Christian Wagner, no. Like that guy. Thomas just like no, dude. Thomas are stupid. Don't get me started on Thomas, dude.
he mentioned like kind of a more robust version of Lutheranism than I had heard. He was like arguing for the sacrament of penance, and
I agree, and I think it has a lot to do with a lot of it has to do with his style too. Like he doesn't have a very aggressive style, but yeah, he has some I would say weak he's had some debates we didn't perform well in, but he's had some debates to where he looked great in. So yeah, like I think he had like the abortion debate he had with Destiny. I remember watching that. I thought he did phenomenal. And then his debate with Gavin Ortland. I mean, he washed the floor with Gavin Ortland. Go watch that debate. Like Gavin Ortland. I don't know if Gavin Ortland. Yeah, that was Trent Horn and Gavin Ortland. I don't know if Gavin Ortland was like nervous or like it was like his first public in-person debate or something. But Gavin Ortland was lost, dude. He looked bad. Like Trent Horn washed the floor with Gavin.
he was talking about theosis, things like that. So things that you don't really hear a whole lot of. And then eventually I saw Dr. Gavin Ortland come on the Michael Lofton Reason and Theology show many years ago. And I thought he was very cordial and thoughtful.
But you got Father.
It's funny. It's funny for us to compliment these people live because people in the comments are always hating on them.
Right.
And so I think it trips people up. Will be like, how can you compliment?
That's a good point. The thing is, like, outside of this, like YouTube stuff, like people are like actual people and have real lives and things like that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You enjoying something?
Well, actually, right now, I have to say, people are going to freak out when I say this. I just finished To Kill a Mockingbird, and I just started reading The Picture of Dorian Gray, because in my home, this is not my home. The book's behind me. This is what happened with this guy when you went to go see this. It's a good point. Orthodox.
I thought they were going to bring up Gavin Ortland there. But it didn't look like they brought up to me. But anyways, guys, go check out The Transfigured Life and Barrel Aged Faith. Go check out those channels. I thought they do a good job. They usually Transfigured Life, they usually have guests on. So go check that out. That's true. We read that in middle school, didn't we? I think 8th grade. If you guys went to school in the States, in 8th grade, we read Killing Mockingbird. So if you're just reading it, Father, I don't know. Maybe he like went to school in Greece or something. Because I know he's like ethnically Greek, but I'm pretty sure he was born in the States. We got Father Moses. I don't watch Father Moses at all. I know a lot of people are fans of him. I mean, he has 139 subs. I did see on the X that he just bought like a giant mansion that he's going to convert into like an Orthodox church / retreat type of thing. So yeah, I did see that. I was going to comment on that, but I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It sounds like just based on, I follow him on X and I'll tune in there sometimes. It sounds like he's having a lot of back and forth with a lot of the Orthodox Christians, and it tends to be sort of mostly oriented around geopolitics. Orthodox X is a bit toxic, and it's like Orthodoxy in the Anglosphere on X there is just intertwined with geopolitics, and I think a lot of his pro-Israel, maybe Zionist views, and he's butting heads with a lot of Orthodox Christians, which I don't think Zionism is really compatible with Orthodoxy, but that's a whole other conversation. Like, I don't, I don't particularly care if someone like geopolitically is like, pro-Israel. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really care. Like, it's like this new thing within the Anglosphere and Orthodoxy to just bash on like Israel. Yeah, there's things to criticize them for, but like that to me seems mostly a geopolitical topic, unless you hold like certain views that like they're still the chosen people, right? Sort of these evangelicals hold these erroneous views, these incorrect views, then yeah. But anyways, I think apostate prophet will learn, and as he gets more into the faith, I think he'll figure it out. But I don't know. I think it puts a lot of Israeli Orthodox Christians in a weird spot when people are just like, you know, like full in on the just hating you if you're like an Israeli. Like, it's just, to me, it's just stupid. It's not the faith. Like, guys, stop. Like, this whole like intertwining like geopolitics with Orthodoxy, like it ain't it. And I know there's people that like have wanted to have like a debate with me on this. I'm not interested in that debate. Like, there's Orthodox Christians like, oh, let's have this debate. Let's have this, because as you guys know, as I've mentioned it, I think I was born in Ukraine, guys. Right? And I'll sometimes, you know, have moments where I'll rail on the Russian government, and this like doesn't sit well with these guys that are just like, you know, just cannot separate geopolitics with orthodoxy. And I have, and like, it's sad that the Ukrainian flag has sort of become this symbol of the left today. Right? Like, I have the Ukrainian flag because that's where I was born. Right? I was born there. That's my genetics, my lineage. My father, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, like, that's an Orthodox lineage down to 988 baptism of Rus. That's my entire lineage. And I had a guy like reach out like, you have a Ukrainian flag in your bio? I didn't expect this from you, Val. Like, what's next? The LGBTQ flag? Like, bro, you're a retard, dude. Like, you really just are a retard, bro. I think a lot of people just think I'm like full-on fledged like American. That's why. Do I look very American? I thought I kind of like, you know, Middle Eastern and Slav. I thought it's kind of evident by my features. Oh, what's up, David? Good to see you, brother. David, another individual returning to the faith of his people. All right, let's check out Father Moses here. He's ranking least manly activities. A little bit of a change. You know, no apologetics here.
A lot of people ask me, Father Moses, how can I increase my
I guess a lot of Father Moses stuff is oriented around like being a man, like masculine stuff. So I don't really, I just sort of see his content on and off. I don't see it too much. I know he's a power lifter. I did powerlifting for a good number of years. So maybe I should watch. Maybe it's because I just lost interest with powerlifting. So like when I see that, I'm like, I don't even want to watch that anymore. Because it's sad I can't hit, you know, obviously. When I was a lot bigger, I was hitting certain numbers. When I see Father Moses hitting them, I'm like, yeah. Also, like, I have no interest in putting on that much weight, like the amount of weight that Father Moses carries. Because if you want to move heavy weights and you want to perform decently in the meets, you got to put on weight. And I don't like being fat, dude. It's uncomfortable.
Manliness.
And you don't sleep well, and like you get gassed when you walk up the stairs, dude. Like, Father Moses, you gotta drop down during Lent, bro.
To absurd levels. Well, today we are going to explore those behaviors which will take you up and take you down. We have this beautiful chart here that is going to show us where we place modern day activities. Number one, looks maxing. If your routine includes dyeing your beard, using some kind of iron, mewing, waxing, shaping your eyebrows, or any other such thing, you have a wonderful place in your mom's basement where you can live.
I do agree. I think it's yeah, it's just vanity. It's like, it's vain, dude. It's vain to be like obsessive over your looks. You know, sometimes like sometimes like if you're ugly, bro, and like if you're handsome, I don't know. But I think you should be presentable. I think you should look presentable. I don't think you should freaking like, grow out your unibrow or something, and like, which sort of a lot of priests do. And I'm not judging the priests, but like, you should be presentable and to the people, to the public, to other non-believers. So when they come into Orthodox church, they're like, yeah, what's wrong with these people? Like, they don't shower, they don't do this. Like, you should be presentable, but not to a point to where you're like vain, like, oh, you're like, even that's why like things like bodybuilding. I guess maybe you can make an argument for being in the sport as a Christian or an Orthodox Christian, but like that to me is like like maybe if you're a pro, you're making money, like sure. But if you're just like doing it because like you want to have the six pack, you want to look good for the summer for the girls, like why, dude? Like just vain, dude. I'm trying to get lean for the summer, dude. Like stop, dude. Stop.
And post photos of yourself on Instagram.
Exactly. Your body's a temple. And when it talks about your body being a temple, and the Father's comment on this as well, it's talking about like your physical body, right? It's saying like don't engage in adultery, like all these things like that. Like you have to physically preserve your body. Like it's a temple, like right, your temple is physical, right? It's beautiful inside and it's beautiful outside, right? To an extent, right? Like don't be, doing all this other stuff that he mentioned, but like you shouldn't be just like looking like a bum, which I think sadly, I don't know if sadly I see some dudes that are like talking to me like, oh, like when, like I'm never gonna get married, this and that, and it's like, dude, like look at yourself, bro. Like the way you show up to church. Like some of these dudes are like looking for wives and it's a lot of converts. I'm not like bashing on converts, but like they'll show up to church in like some like dirty jeans and like some boots and and like some jacket and just like unkept. Like it's like, dude, watch the way like Russians, Serbians show up, right? Ukrainians, bro, slacks, nice shirt tucked in, dress shoes. Be presentable, dude. Show up to church presentable, bro.
Showing a physique or facade that is ridiculous. Cross legs. If your thighs are able to cross perfectly like this, they are simply not big enough. I don't have anything more to say about that.
I know this is like cheek and tongue, but like this is retarded. Who cares if you cross your legs, bro? Now, I have like quite big legs. They used to be much bigger when I was doing powerlifting. But I can still cross my legs. And it's actually like if I'm sitting somewhere for a long period of time, I'm waiting somewhere. I might throw my leg up. I don't cross my legs like that. I'll like throw up like my heel up on my other knee. So maybe I do agree. That's like the position the guy's sitting in. That's pretty gay, dude. That's gay.
Game Boy.
Yeah, dude, you gotta clean yourself up. Gotta clean yourself up. And also, like, if you're a scrawny dude, like, you put up, like, again, here's the thing, like, Father Moses here is like railing on dudes, like, doing their eyebrows, whatever. I don't think you should be like doing your eyebrows. Like I said, like if you're like growing a massive unibrow, like clean up a little bit, bro. Look a little presentable. But then again, but at the same time, Father Moses will say, but if you're a scrawny dude, like put on some weight, hit the gym. It's like, be consistent, bro. Be consistent, dude. Like, do both. Like, if you look unkept, if like your beard is freaking, all over the place, and you're not a priest, right? Like usually priests will let their beards grow. He's a priest, bro. Like if you're a regular churchgoer, a layman, like, dude, clean yourself up a little bit. You can grow your beard out. I recommend men grow their beards out. My critique is actually men with no beards. I would put it somewhere near the bottom, unless you like can't grow it. It's genetic reasons. But if you're like shaving, I don't know about that, bro. But yeah, the way the guy crossing his legs, I think that's pretty gay.
This is anyone who is involved in this Warhammer nonsense, any kind of fictitious lore that has taken you hundreds of hours to read, Dungeons and Dragons, board games that take 4 to 8 hours. Grand Theft Auto will fall into this as well. I'm going to say this is definitely in your mom's basement.
I actually do agree here with Father Moses, and that's another thing I've noticed with converts coming to Orthodoxy is it's a lot of bright young men that grew up doing a lot of gaming, and they're like grown-ups, like mid-20s, 30s, some in their 40s, and they're still just, that's all they're doing, dude. They're like, talking about like World of Warcraft, like maybe there's some parishioners that are watching this. I don't want to say something, but like, it's like, dude, like maybe time to let that go. Maybe time to let that go. I wouldn't say like some in your mom's basement stuff, but like, dude, like tone it down a bit.
These are activities for people who don't have anything better to do with their life. If you're a man with a family, it's fine to have a hobby, but when your hobby consumes, 8 hours of your week, every week, preparing and executing for it, and it has no tangible return on investment, I'm going to say this is not the activity that a married man with children should be engaged in. Great and Holy Lent. This is Saint Maxing. This is the time of the year where we should. This is Saint. I'm going to say this is not the activity that a married man with children should be engaged in. Great and Holy Lent. This is Saint Maxing. This is the time of the year where we should be committing ourselves to fasting, to being in every prayer service, every church service that we can, committing ourselves to the prayers of the church. This is for Orthodox, like the Olympics, where we really put forth our best effort to be obedient to the church and to maximize our time. I will say nothing.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Will create more of a man out of you than living the life of Christ, especially during the final days of Great and Holy Lent with his crucifixion and into the midnight service celebrating his resurrection. Next, community.
Hope you guys' Lent is going well. Yeah, Lent is, I think, probably could be difficult, for new Orthodox Christians. Personally, like Lent isn't, like the fasting aspect isn't too difficult for me. Can't make every church service, but there's essentially, church every day of the week. So try to attend those. Yeah, I think Lent is beautiful, especially if there's, thorns that you have, certain things you gotta get rid of, let go, fast from, get off social media, things like that. Lent is beautiful. Lent is wonderful. And also, like, right, and there's side effects to Lent. Like if you're a bit overweight, like, if you really stick to Lent, you're gonna lose weight. Like I lose a ton of weight during Lent. We're like, how deep are we into Lent? Right, we're about like halfway through Lent. I'm down like 20 pounds already. Again, I've been sort of incorporated quite a bit of cardio, but not really. Actually, I haven't really incorporated that much cardio into my workouts. It's just the small meals, and yeah, I'm down like 20 pounds during Lent. Dude, by the time Lent ends, I might look like a Holocaust survivor. I don't know. I don't think I will. I never do. but it's I think the reason why this lens specifically is hitting me, I think, harder because I have like this vegan protein, but I stopped taking all that stuff, and I think I'm just not getting enough calories, enough protein, so I'm just thinning out during Lent.
Community man. We call this the church Giga Chad. This is somebody that everyone can rely on in the parish community.
Wait, what did he say?
Next, community man. We call this the church Giga Chad. This is somebody that everyone can rely on in the parish community that is able to help with any task that comes up, is utterly reliable, helps in the altar, helps in the choir, all of these things. This is definitely Saint Maxing. When the
What's a community guy? Are these like me? Like, I'm not super familiar with these memes, guys. I'm not in tune with the online meme culture.
priest knows that he can rely on you and that you're going to be there, I will tell you, he will hold you in very high regard, and your contributions to the parish are absolutely exceptional. Full-time job. One thing I get questioned about a lot is, Father, I don't have a very manly job. I work in computer programming or whatever else. Should I find something that's more masculine? The fact of the matter is, if you're working a full-time job and you're able to create a good enough revenue.
Do people actually ask these questions? I sit behind a desk. It's not manly enough. I'm making like $200K a year. I'm providing for my family, for my kids, my wife. But like, my job is it's just so gay. I cross my legs when I'm there. I like sip my coffee in the morning. I have like conversations about the weather in the kitchen and in the elevator. Should I quit, Father? Dude. Provide for your damn family, dude. My job is gay.
You to support having your children, your family. There is absolutely nothing not manly about that. You just may have talents that reside in a certain realm of life. So if you got a guy who is a programmer making $250K a year, is it more manly to stop doing that and go be a roofer for $60K a year? Absolutely not. The full-time job, the hardworking husband, this is definitely lumberjack. And I say that because it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're swinging the axe of your mind or your muscles, and you're providing for your family. Cold plunges and sauna. I'm going to put this under, I got my first tribal tattoo. They're fun, they're enjoyable. There's some health benefits to both of them. Obviously, there's more benefits to sauna, but it's...
I don't know too much about the science behind them, but I do them. It helps with recovery a lot for me personally. Maybe it's placebo effect, I don't know, but I enjoy it actually. I enjoy the sauna and cold plunge.
It's one of those things, if you're doing video of yourself cold plunging and putting it on Instagram or wherever else, it's like you're saying, I have the mental hardness to do something difficult, but I really need your likes and affection. If you're doing something hard, do it in private. Don't tell anybody, and don't try to create some kind of pseudo Instagram persona out of it. That is lame. Watching sports. Look, again,
this is actually an interesting one, because you hear different takes, right? Some people think like, why do you need to watch? But at that point, it's like, why do you need any entertainment at all then? Like, should we just never be like engage in any sort of like entertainment that maybe doesn't have any sort of return on investment per se? So I don't know, I'm curious to hear his take on this.
All things in moderation. If you're the type of person who's watching,
yeah, there you go, it's a good answer,
the Super Bowl with people, that's fine. If you're the type of person who has an account on some obscure message board where you're talking about, I don't know, the Detroit Lions or whatever every single week, and you're arguing about the coach's decision and all this sort of stuff, this is your mom's basement.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think I was that guy at one point, but I was that guy, and I still, by the way, I still do like fantasy football and stuff when the season comes around. I'm not like super engaged with it, but I like set my lineup if you guys know. I don't do fantasy baseball. I haven't followed baseball in like years. I don't most of like, La Liga or Premier League. I don't really follow any of that or the MLS here. But this is actually an interesting conversation because I know quite a bit of dudes that are like, they're obsessed with whatever their home teams are or the teams they support. When it comes to, soccer or football, as they call it in Europe, right? Like they're just diehard Barcelona, diehard Arsenal, right? Diehard Manchester United, right? Just these diehard fans of PSG, whatever. There's certain teams that they're obsessed with. Relax a little bit, bro. Like, just relax, dude. Or they're like obsessing, this is another one for me, like obsessing, idolizing like celebrities. Like, I could not give a damn, dude, if like Cristiano Ronaldo walked by me on like if I'm in a coffee shop and Cristiano Ronaldo walks in. Like genuinely, like I could not give a damn, dude. He's a guy, like, right? He makes a lot of money playing a sport. Okay, dude. So like the idolization in that regard, especially young men, and I know there's young men that engage in this. So idolizing is what they they literally call it, I idolize this person. Like, okay, sure, you can respect someone, admire an athlete. Right, look up to an athlete, like he's a great representation of his faith, things like that. But like, you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like idolizing, like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Lomachenko, Usyk, dude, Habib Nurmagomedov, right? Like, whatever celebrity is, whatever athlete is, like, this probably pertains a lot to young boys. Women struggle with different things. Like, dude, just relax, just stop, dude. All right? Just stop. There's not a whole lot of return on investment. Everything in moderation. And I respect, a lot of athletes that are great representations of the faith, especially when it comes to Orthodoxy, right? We have Lomachenko, Usyk. We have some Greek fighters, Georgian fighters. Not all of them are great representations, but, some of them, speak on Christ and speak on the faith publicly, but like, just relax, dude. Like, stop idolizing these dudes. Like, that's gay, dude. That's gay.
The people who devote massive amounts of time to ball sports is ridiculous. Is it,
and by the way, guys, I play basketball like multiple times a week too. And I keep up with like the NBA specifically. But I'm not like freaking like idolizing these players. Like, dude, like this guy got to get his jersey. It's like, dude, some guy, he's fun to watch sometimes, dude. Like, tune into a game once in a while, right? Like, check it out, but like, not like obsessively follow a sport,
Not bad, and sports are great for children because it builds teamwork and hard work and effort. But when you're the one who's watching it and you're not actually participating,
and this is one thing I agree with, like, guys, I think if you can, like, put your kids in sports, especially men, especially boys, boys need to be doing like certain physical activities. I think sports is it. A lot of like women, especially Orthodox women, like don't like that. They'll be like, my kids, like, you got to convince your woman, convince your wife, your girlfriend, if you're dating someone, whatever, courting someone. I think is more appropriate what a priest would say. Convince them, like, if you're having kids, or like convince your wife, like, no, like, the kid's got to be doing sports, because how women are. They're like, no, like, my kid's gonna get hurt and all this stuff, it's bad for his knees. It's like, well, he's gonna become gay, dude. He's gonna be gay if you don't make him play sports, dude. He's gonna be a sissy, dude. a pussy, to put it simply. Like, what do you think young men do when they have a bunch of time on their hands? They engage in activities they should not be engaging in, right? They get in trouble. They get into stuff they shouldn't be in. Like, give them these activities, like physical activities, to where they're coming home tired. Young men in your like late teens, like 18, 19, 20, 21, like, you should not have a ton of time on your hands, a ton of free time to where you're just lounging around all the time. That's how you get in trouble as a young man. You should be going to bed exhausted. You should be going to bed tired, to where you don't have the ability to engage in other things or grab your phone and watch pornography and things like that. Like, put yourself to use.
Participating in it, it's pretty lame. You can enjoy it, but when it's taking up huge amounts of time in your life, that time needs to be utilized in a much better fashion. Okay, next one. Thirst trapping, especially male thirst trapping. You're under 200 pounds, you're skinny, you have a six-pack. Because you're skinny, you're not, you're basically victim weight. You're a zebra in the African desert. You can't bench 315 pounds.
Father, what if you're not skinny? I don't think you should be thirst trapping at all, dude. Like, again, there's some discussions about bodybuilding, but like, to me, bodybuilding is just vain, dude. Like, why would you even get into that sport, dude? Like, you're in a Speedo on stage, and other people, there's like people, men, sometimes women, usually men, judging your body and like placing you. Like, bro, gay. Also, not very modest, dude. If for your job you have to like strip down to a freaking speed, like, bro, what are you doing? Or if you're a dude posting like shirtless pics, I'm like, yeah, dude, what are you doing? It's bad enough that you're posting as a dude online. That's already gay enough. You're like, here's my life. It's like, dude, you're gay. Stop.
You're trying to show off your gains for other dudes on Instagram. This is a Timothy Chalamet mustache, okay? You're trying to show something that you think you've created, but it really isn't much, all right? If you need the recognition of other men to cheer you on for what you've accomplished, you've got some massive insecurities that you got to work on, which goes with the next one, skinny jeans. I'm going to drop skinny jeans down in the Timothy Chalamet mustache as well. Look, if you have quads that are less than 24 inches,
I don't know if skinny jeans aren't really a thing anymore, right? They were a thing in like 2015, right?
and you have to wear jeans that are tight, there's something strange going on. There is a point where you're going to have massive quads and then jeans are just going to be tight. That's fine.
What is Father Moses's and like his obsession with like quad size? Like, I don't get it, dude. If you're a dude and like you have skinny, usually it's genetic, but it's like you have skinny legs, bro. Who cares?
But when you're trying to show off your physique, but the physique is just skin and bones, there's not much to show off. Cussing. I'll tell you.
You shouldn't be like trying to show off your physique. Like, you shouldn't be like mirror selfies with your shirt off on your Instagram. And you know who you are, dudes. And women too. By the way, the stuff I see women post, it hurts the most when it's Orthodox women. What are you women doing? And men too. Like what are you guys doing? Or another one, this is a pet peeve, when dudes make like little when guys make like little like compilation reels, you know what I'm talking about, of them on like a snowboarding trip or something, and it's like them driving with like background music, and it's like they clip together of them snowboarding, or like a camping trip. Dude, that's so gay. Stop doing that, dude. Just stop. Just get off and just delete your account. Delete your account, dude. It's gay.
Look at this. This is, I got my first tribal tattoo. This is the David Goggins trying to be hard. Look, cussing does not make you hard. The other thing is, too, if you're a hard and dangerous individual, you don't need to tell other people that. It's always the people who are telling everybody about how.
I disagree. I think David Goggins is a pretty hard guy. He was a damn Navy SEAL, wasn't he? How can you say that a Navy SEAL isn't hard? I don't know if that's what his father Moses is implying here, but like to say a Navy SEAL isn't hard, a wild thing to say.
How tough and how awesome they are that are the least tough and the least awesome. Okay. So when you're cussing and you're forcing this kind of, I don't know, masculine.
I agree. Yeah. Also cussing is an interesting one. This is something, well, I guess it depends what you deem a cuss word. This is something that I try to work on. Not, I guess words like shit, like some people think that's a cuss word. I don't know. It's probably best to just like stay away from, speaking this way, period. But
an emotional state on other men, there's nothing masculine about that. Being calm and peaceful in the midst of life and all of its stressors and difficulties and not having to cuss is actually way more masculine. Having a large family, we call this having the full quiver of arrows, as the psalmist says. This is Saint Maxing. This is when you have completely given yourself over to the God's design for family life. And why do I say this? Because having a lot of kids takes a lot out of you as a man. It is an incredible burden to trust God that he's going to help see you through it, that you're going to make it, that you're going.
I think this one is, well, here's just my take on it. You also have to consider what kind of kids you're going to raise and what kind of life you're going to live. Because if you don't make a lot of money, your wife's a stay-at-home wife, and you're just having a ton of kids, you're going to be on like welfare and like governmental aid and stuff like that. I don't know if I'd want to give my kids that life. You know what I mean? So I think if you can't properly raise the kids and dedicate the proper time to them, maybe you shouldn't have this ton of kids. You know what I mean? It's just something to, think about, consider. Like, if you're just having one kid after the other, and like in a span of 10 years, you have like, 10 kids. Can you like give proper attention and raise all 10 of them? I don't know. Maybe you can, but might be difficult. Or can you, afford all these kids without, being on like government aid? So something to think about.
Going to have the ability and wherewithal to tackle this. When you have one or two kids, people normally cut off because it's so hard. And I'm going to tell you from experience, within the last couple of weeks, I've had times where literally children were pooping and vomiting all over themselves, multiple children, even at the same time. And to go through an ordeal like this, it does. It pushes you care because you loop with a forged chunks of meat, but requires a little spoon on.
All right, what else?
This is definitely, there is something, but require the soup. If the soup does not contain soup,
about soup?
manliness, ingratitude, see you that you're going to make it when you and are the most important to you, your wife and your children. That you could soup. Listen, if you're eating a soup that you could not eat.
What's this beef with soup? By the way, we love soup in the Slavic culture. We love borscht and different soups. We eat a lot of that. And I would say Slavic men are pretty manly, bro. Like you're not going to see a lot of soy boys from Eastern Europe.
Eat with a fork, okay? What I mean is The soup, if the soup does not contain large chunks of meat.
All right, but what are you supposed, like, during Lent, like a lot of people's options are just like soups, dude. So what are you trying to say?
But requires a little spoon that you slurp off of. There is something catastrophically wrong going on. This is definitely
disagreed.
Chunks of protein in it.
I mean, yeah, we do add a lot of, like, you know, meats and potatoes, and our soups aren't like super chunky, but you know, we add some of that in our soups. But like during Lent, just, you can't really do a whole lot. It's like cabbage soups and stuff like that. So
it should be basically a watery meal of goodness, a ancient Scottish broth.
Ah, yeah. That's pasola soup. That stuff is pretty. I haven't had that in a while. I do love soup with pasola. That is pretty bomb. With the babushkas. Yeah, my mom makes some great like pasola soup too. So get your wife, get your girl making that soup too. So sadly, many don't, especially here that grow up in the West. That's why you got to go to your mother's house.
Broth, okay? If it is dolled up and you sit there drinking water by the spoon about that.
All right, enough of this soup slander, bro. What's this?
Last but not least, the most beautiful
fanny pack
accoutrement a man can have, a fanny pack. Now, this definitely goes on.
You guys know that one guy, Wes Watson, actually. Oh, Jim Bob was in here earlier. Jim Bob had a back and forth with Wes Watson a while ago. They did like this little conference thing with Fresh and Fit. This guy wears his fanny pack, and I think he sells fanny packs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Wes Watson. I'm like vaguely familiar with him I discovered it from that Jim Bob interaction. I guess he's like an ex-con that's like just insecure, acts like a female, from what I realized. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with fanny packs. When I was in Eastern Europe in 2022, I wore a fanny pack. It was convenient to keep my money in there, and also like it's in the front, so like I keep my hand on it so the gypsies don't steal it. Maybe it's not a problem in Texas, in the States where you're at, because people just like reach into your pockets and steal stuff, but I don't know, dude. In Eastern Europe, there's a lot of pickpocketers, especially if you're in the city somewhere, especially gypsies. I don't know, man. I think fanny pack is more convenient. Like you put money in your pocket, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it.
Under lumberjack, and the reason I say,
I'm surprised. He says fanny packs are pretty good. All right, okay, Father Moses.
This is because only a man who does not care what anyone thinks, including his own wife, is able to really rock this with pride.
Yeah, I mean, it's just convenient sometimes. I don't really wear it here, but like when I'm traveling abroad, I'll bring my fanny pack. It's like a purse thing. Like sometimes it's like across my shoulder, but I guess you can put it. Yeah, it's convenient, dude. I don't know. All right, there was another last video I wanted to see from Father Peter Hears. By the way, another great channel, the Orthodox Ethos. Check it out. And this is called Let's Have a Serious Discussion About Reception of Converts. I haven't seen this. So let's check it out, see what Father Peter Hears has to say. I do plan on bringing another YouTuber on who's been Orthodox for a very long time and have him, and he's been Orthodox in the West pretty much his entire life, and have him just discuss, you know, Orthodoxy, the different waves of converts he's seen over the years. So that should be an interesting conversation to get his take on that.
Yeah, and we don't have to like get into gossip or anything, but one of the things I don't understand, and maybe you can speak to it a little bit, is why there is so much controversy for you when you put this book out? Because when I was speaking to you about it on the mountain, it's like, this is not Father Peter's opinions throughout this book. You're quoting patristic writings and saints and whatnot. Why did you know you would get such pushback, and why do you think you did?
I knew we would get pushback. I just didn't know to what degree. What was amazing to me is that we were trying to get basically canceled. People were trying to cancel us, cancel me, cancel the book, and I think that's unfortunate because have you ever seen?
I'm not familiar with this book that Father Peter here has put out. So is he like very critical of receiving new converts or people coming from heterodox faith or what? Maybe somebody's read this book. I have not.
When people try to cancel, usually they don't have any argument.
Yes, I've noticed.
Right?
Yes.
And in the world, like people who get canceled, it's just a power struggle. It's just a brazen reaction of the establishment. And we see that in American society. People are getting sick of that. And there's a...
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a discussion within, right, Orthodoxy today. And here's the thing. I think it is a discussion. Because here's the thing for me. When I read the early church, for example, when I read the Council of Laodicea, when it comes to the rebaptism of certain heretical groups like the Montanists or the Phrygians and things like that, some of the commentary in the canons by the fathers is like, oh, we don't need to rebaptize this group. They were baptized canonically in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then some of them are like, no, we deem like the Montanists baptism invalid, so we should rebaptize them. But then they list off like these other heretical groups, and these are like heretical groups. These aren't like, what we call heterodox. I guess we would consider most heterodox heretics a form, but just not formally maybe. But these are like formal heretics that were being accepted back into the church, right? And a lot of the fathers in Laodicea are like saying we don't need to rebaptize them. So I think it is a good discussion. I think it is a conversation. At our parish, our priest is all pro rebaptism, no matter what. Even if you're coming from like an old rite Russian church that's pretty much do everything Orthodox, except they're not in communion, right? So it's an interesting conversation. I guess I just leave it up to the priest. And I haven't read this book, so I'll probably need to get this book and read Father Peter here's take on it, and hopefully have Father Peter here's on the channel, and I'd love to have this conversation because I think it is a discussion. I don't think it's a closed case, like just rebaptized period. It seems like it because it's like they're all sacraments outside the church are invalid, right? So when they if they're baptized outside the church, we should rebaptize them. Not just, bring them in with chrismation. But the thing that throws me off is like reading early church councils and patristic commentary. There were certain groups that were bringing back in, they weren't rebaptizing them. So I don't know, dude. Like it's just clear, like you read Laodicea specifically. Like it's just clear, like, oh, we're not rebaptizing this group of heretics that are being brought back into church. So I don't know. I just leave it up to, to the priest. If your priest, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think it's a conversation to have. I think a lot of people sort of maybe parrot what they hear or maybe what their priest says without really understanding why there is a discussion about it. And that there has historically been a discussion about it, in 2,000 years of church history. So
big pushback against people who just get canceled because of their opinions. And, even have like Mark Zuckerberg saying, oh, we were forced by the United States government. Yeah. Now we're going to change our whole censorship policies. I guess that's a good development. But anyway, the idea that you can just cancel the fathers, but we're just going to cancel this book and we're going to, not allow it to be distributed or sold in our church, our diocese. I think it's naive on their part. Like and they would probably be good for them to listen to that wise Jewish Pharisee who said about in the Acts of the Apostles, who said, if it's of God, it'll, and if it's not, you can't do anything about it, right? You're not going to be able to fight it. So if this is the patristic tradition that's presented in our book and in the writings of Father George Metellinos, you're not going to be successful in the long term. And if it's not, we're not going to be successful, and it's going to fall away, and the church is going to reject it. So there's no worries. Like I really want to make I said before this morning, I said, one of the things I got to say is this: let's have a debate, let's have a discussion, or let's have a conversation. I've been asking various people in the more established Orthodox circles. By established, I mean American Orthodoxy. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion. And one or two have said yeah, and then they never did it. Why not? Why not? If you have absolutely this is how the church works. It's conciliar. It's not a top-down papal pyramid structure. So why not? Let's talk about it. I have yet to see a serious review of this book by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They either ignore it.
I guess I'm gonna have to check out that book and hear some of his points and the conversation is made, especially pertaining to rebaptism, because that's a conversation I would love to have with Father Peter Hears as well, and not somebody that's like taking one side or the other, but just to have that conversation, because I think it is a conversation to have.
Or they just take pot shots at it in their reviews, and some of them are really, really pathetic, and they're just picking and choosing things that they think will score points online. So that's a tragedy for me. Like, let's have a serious discussion or even a debate if you want, for the good of the church. What are we afraid of? So that's one of the things I wanted to say, that I'm ready, and let's do that. And that's, I think, a perfectly Orthodox thing to do, right? Let's discuss this. The councils in the ancient church didn't go on for a week.
Right.
They went on for months, sometimes years.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Council of Crete. It was a week-long event. There was no discussion, really. I mean, in the sense that the documents had all been prepared for years in advance, and they were very hard to change in Crete at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Crete is not known as a great Orthodox ecumenical council. There's tons of problems with it, to say the least. But the Orthodox Church would engage in this kind of debate. It was very rancorous, the ecumenical councils. It went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Even Florence, the False Council, went on for a long time. It went on for a year and a half. So this is part of the Orthodox, way we...
Yeah, I 100% agree with, this is part of the Orthodox life, is to have these disagreements on things that I think are theologumena. Maybe Father Peter Hears doesn't think they're theologumena. Maybe he thinks they're dogmatic, but and have these conversations. Like, they might just be ongoing conversations for, like he said, the False Council of Florence was went on for a year. So I mean, and I guess that's what we're doing online. We're engaging, we're having discussions about these things within Orthodox circle. I think the issue becomes when people don't treat these things like theologumena, but they sort of treat them as dogmatic. Even when it comes to things like young Earth versus old Earth, theistic evolution, which I disagree with, but the thing is, these things, I don't know if these things just aren't dogmatic in the church. But then you have certain apologists within Orthodox circles argue for these things, that they are dogmatic, or as if they're dogmatic. I don't know. I think good conversations to have, but the thing I think that bothers me in Orthodox circles, in Orthodox apologetics, when people engage on non-dogmatic issues, you know, from the church that weren't like conciliarly established, right? Theolegumena. And they argue for him like this is the only way in Orthodoxy. It's like, no, dude. No.
We deal with this. We don't think that shutting down people and canceling.
Yeah. I did see a conversation Father Peter Hears had with the old calendarists, where they're an interesting, zealous bunch. He had a conversation with, I forgot the priest's name. He actually follows me on X, the priest, and I'm like acquainted with him. I forgot his name. He did a debate, I think, with Vegan Gains as well. This priest, but he had a conversation with Father Peter here. It was an interesting conversation. Sort of got out of hand. But I do see people engage with Father Peter Hears. I don't know why people don't want to engage, you know, in like these conversations, like rebaptism or other things. But I would love to have Father Peter Hears on and, you know, have this conversation with him. You know, boost some of my following with his. He has 116,000 subscribers on Orthodox ethos. But also I hope Father Peter Hears figures out that whole like jurisdiction canonical issue. I don't know if he's resolved that yet, because people sort of use that to critique him. But I enjoy Father Peter Hears. I enjoy his takes. So it would be awesome, dude, Father Peter Hears, if it would be awesome to have you on, Father.
Them is the Orthodox way.
But anyways, all right, guys, it's getting late. I've been live for 2 hours now. I think it's time to, you know, pack it up. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone that came in. Thank you, Paul, for the congrats. Just finished Vespers. Nice. Blessed Lent to you all. And I'll see you guys, you know, whenever I see you guys, it'll probably be a response to something. We'll see what comes out, you know, within this week or the next few days, something that needs to be addressed. Or I might just do a topic. I might talk about a council or, you know, something that I'm reading, that I'm studying. We'll see what it is. Anyways, thank you guys. God bless. Good night, good morning, good day, good evening to you all. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, comment, and subscribe for more, and follow my social medias in the description below. I'll see you next time. God bless.